Hey, Jonathan. Congratulations on winning the 11-second club at Animation Mentor. My name is Robyne Powell. I work as a feature animator at DreamWorks, and I've been in animation. I've been an animator for about 25 years. I started my career actually in 2D for about 7 years, but I've been in features for the last 15 plus. So I have some experience in 2D. It's super exciting to see your test in 2D because it's always so appealing, something that you don't see very often. But I did want to congratulate you, and I love your test. I'm going to be actually doing your critique. So let's get started. Let's take a look-see here. And I love that you've got like even the character turnaround, and that's really, really tricky, but you've got some animation where, you know, the head's coming up and changing direction, that sort of thing on top of the turnaround, which is always really challenging. Even got lighting in there and everything. That's awesome. So I love the tension that you're building too, with just this light coming across her face and then still being able to see the door in the back. And you've offset some things as well, which is fantastic. And believe me, it's tricky, you know, going in and animating hands, things like that. On top of that, you're rotating them around in perspective. So for people that haven't done 2D, they wouldn't necessarily think about that, but having to get the structure of things like hands, which are really quite complicated, and rotating them in 3D space is quite a challenge. So congratulations, you did a great job on that. So I've got some thoughts on your test, which I thought, you know, you could take a look at. So I love that you've got, like I mentioned, the tension building, you know, with just this single light. You don't know kind of what's going on around her. But I was thinking that if there's a way that we can sort of amp up that tension, there's a few things that I can recommend. So one of them is even things like the eye direction and some facial change-ups, because we kind of hold this expression like all through here. See how we're holding that? And then we go into a blink, and then we're holding this expression here. And then she looks over, and then we're holding that expression there. But it'd be great to have something, especially if we can lead into it, to build into it. So it's great having this where she turns around and she's looking around, but maybe we can have a few little like sudden eye darts. So when you feel like that tension and you're in a situation and you don't know what's going on, but you don't really want to move around, you don't want to look around too much with your head because, you know, you're really, really scared, but your eyes are going to be just darting around like this. So maybe to put in a couple really sharp like eye darts looking around. And then when she goes into this line here, so when she says what's happening, because her face holds quite still, maybe we can have some more tension here on the eyebrows, like lead into something where you really feel like those eyebrows come down like this. And again, have like an eye dart here and there where she just kind of looks around like that. So you can feel that tension building. Let's see. Now on some areas in here too, see how her face, so she's got the lighters down below here, and then as she comes up here, the lighters raising up, but her eye direction feels like it's the same throughout that whole area. So maybe we can find some areas in there where we feel a little bit more like the eye line's a little bit lower, and again, maybe soften the expression a little bit. Maybe she can have some tension still in her brows, but maybe soften, which gives us somewhere to go to. So when she gets to this point here, maybe you can feel that really sort of that worry kind of building up here, but still looking down as she's lifting up this lighter. Now, let's see, as she goes into this, and then even on something like this, what you might want to try doing is, let's see if we can find an area here, is maybe just break up a little bit of the symmetry on the face. So we have a little bit, maybe an eyebrow like this, and then like that. So we can kind of lead, essentially leading with like a wedge on the face. So we're a little bit wider on this side than on this side. And so as she's turning around, you're actually leading with the face going around in the rotation here. Now there's some areas too that I think just to play around with, just to tweak. It's so much harder in 2D, and believe me, I know, I appreciate that. In 3D, it's so much nicer. We could just grab an object or a body part or something like that and offset it. So these are just some recommendations, like even in the future, when you're looking at some areas where you can kind of play around a little bit more with some spacing and some timing and offsetting some things. So for example, when she's coming around, so right in here, you see how her head is starting to come up like this, but her hands are coming around at the same time, is maybe we can delay because her head's starting to lead this action. So she's already looking up, but maybe we can lead a little bit sooner with the head, and it'll give us a chance to read the face a little bit longer. So we're not just keeping the head and the body going around like that, but we're actually starting to lead with the head a little bit sooner. So if you can read the face a little bit longer, that's always a bonus. Now, in particular on this move right in here, I love the fact that you've got this antic going around and feeling like the head was here, and then we're rolling around like that to get to that, to look behind us. What I would love to see is see that sped up, because right now we're doing it on 2s, right? But if we have our head here, and if we go down into this squash right in here, what would be nice is to do it a little bit faster. Now, what you can do with, it's especially fun in 2D, is to do things that if you do that on 1 frame, so if you do it on 2, it's going to feel like a stick, because this is pushing the physics of our geometry and whatnot, but adding some little stretches and essentially mini wipes in there, because we're not going that far. Essentially what a wipe is us morphing the geometry of our character to cover a greater distance. It enables the viewer to be able to follow an object even though we are, in reality, we couldn't physically do it. So it's like if you had a shape over here and you needed to zip it way over here really, really fast, what you might do in between is, add a stretch like this, but then you'd add some, drag marks like that, but you'd only have it on for 1 frame. So it enables the viewer to be able to follow a great distance going from here all the way over to here without feeling like it's popping, because we're dragging some of the geometry there, but we're paying attention to the volume as well. So we want to squash it a little bit and then stretch it out in the direction that we're going. And then just dragging some of the coloring behind like that, so you can actually follow this wipe going through. So we can do that on smaller, in smaller areas, even on the face here. So if you have, the head up here, as I was mentioning, and then going down into, so you've got this great squash in here, down like this, and then we're going to come up to this right in here. So let's do some onion skinning so we can pay attention to what we're doing. So in something like this, but again, to do it on 1 frame. If you do it on 2 frames, you're actually going to see it, and we don't want to see it, but we want to feel it. So if you do it on 1 frame, is having essentially a slightly stretched face, but leading into that squash that you have. And what you can do too is to say, slightly flare one of the eyes up, and then this one can start to collapse, starting to close a little bit, and you can even scale a little bit of the pupil, and then squash into this one right here. And then as we go into, oops, I actually drew over my drawing. Okay, let's see, let's do a stretch in here, and then I'll erase that other one. Okay, so we did a stretch in here, and drag a little bit of that eye. Now this is a bit cartoony, just because we're doing it for ease of viewing at this point. Okay, so let me just erase this here. There we go. So we're going to go into this great squash that you have here, and then into where you've got turning their head here. So even on something like this, to start to lead with, say, the face, and drag a little bit more with, say, the jaw is dragging back. So the upper face is starting to lead into that turn, but we're going to kind of leave the jaw behind. Now let's see, I think you go right into closed eyes. So we'll just continue with closed eyes and closed eyes over here. So what we're going to end up with is something that, see, we're going to drag a little bit and then snap over into this and then pulling through like this. Now, keeping in mind, you still want to follow a really nice arc coming through, so it doesn't feel like it drops straight down and then changes direction. But in the beauty of having 2D is you can kind of sculpt these drawings so that you can follow a little bit more of an arc. And then, of course, even here, what I would do is I would drop that head a little bit lower. So we're following through on more of that arc coming from above, down here, and then into this one here. So we'll feel that kind of swooping going through. Now, again, only on 1s though. I wouldn't do it on 2s. But also what I would do is on this hand here, because you've got this great visual as far as like a silhouette and everything else with this hand. But if you notice, when we come around like this, we're going to a bit of an antic here where we're sort of tucking in a little bit like that. And then it starts going out in this direction, which the spacing here, if you were to like take a look there. And then we start to slow down here because we're going around that arc. But because we come in a little bit, by the time we start pulling out, the head is coming around at the same time. What I thought would be really cool is to actually delay that. Because you hear a slam behind us, what we tend to do when we're really, really startled is the first thing that's going to go through is the eyes, and then the head, and the rest of the body, because it's a lot heavier and bulkier, is going to take a little bit longer to get there. So the head's going to whip around sooner than the rest of the body. So what we could do is if we put that big head wipe going through on ones, that means that the head's going to start turning around sooner, which I think would be really cool. Then you could start that ant again with the arm. So it's actually pulling in as the head's coming around like this, and then it's going to catch up and come around to the body. Then we can speed up the hand coming around like this, and the head is going to now ease into this position as the hand is finishing. And you have something like that right now, right here where we're settling into that hand. So it'll just kind of break that up a little bit as far as that turn coming around. Now, something else I would love to see is on the lip sync. So with our lip sync here, so she says, what's happening? Yeah, what's happening? What we tend to do is find the biggest accent. So what's happening? It kind of sounds like a song. Yeah, happening, on the happening sounds like that's bigger than the other ones. So maybe we can accent that one a little bit more. So it's not that the mouth shapes are always sort of the same width. So when she's going, what's happening? Oops, where are we here? So right in here, maybe we can accent that just a little bit wider, a little bit bigger there. And then be careful of these areas here where we've got one frame, teeth closed, then open, then closed, then open, and then coming up. Something that a director taught me years and years and years ago, which I thought was really cool, was he said to follow things, to create sort of an organic flow and appeal to it as well. As things follow arcs. We're always following arcs, but we can also get arcs in our mouth. So he likened it to a cow chewing. So a cow doesn't just open its mouth and closes its mouth like this. It will actually come out and around. So we'll get some of that read. And you've got the perfect angle for it because we're at a slightly, not directly at camera at this point. But what you can do is have the mouth, open and then start to open this way. And then as it finishes, it comes out this way and then comes up and closes. So it doesn't have to be as extreme as I did, but just to have like a slight chewing motion kind of thing with the jaw so that it's not just simply straight up and straight down. Now, if you've got the opportunity to track things like just the corners of the mouth so that we don't pop up and then pop out, that you can kind of blend that a little bit more and use any opportunity you can to have some ease ins and ease outs, would be great. Now, let's see. I think that is it for the lip sync. Yeah, it'd be great right in here when she's saying that line, what's happening, like I was saying, to change up that facial expression, to really feel like that tension building in those brows, like getting that worry in there and having a few eye darts, back and forth. Let me switch to black here so we can see the eye darts. So have some eyes like just like that, and keeping that kind of tempo of those eye darts, making sure that they're not evenly spaced. I used to do that all the time when I first started out. All of my poses and whatnot always seem to follow on the same beat. And it's amazing that the viewer's brain will actually fall asleep super, super quickly. So what you want to do is you want to find an organic and inconsistent beat. But in particular, when we're in a tense situation, we're going to have an unusual, like, rather than having the eye direction going boom, 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 it'll be more like boom, 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 boom. That'll feel more frantic and phonetic. So anytime you can get that kind of thing in there would be great. But yeah, if you can speed up that turnaround too and have the head lead a little bit sooner, I think that'd be awesome. But you did a fantastic job on this test. I love it. I love what you've done with it. Super, super challenging too. So great job on this. But I think that's pretty much all I've got. Oh, sorry, there was one other thing. And that was just a little bit on, especially on this big move on the rotation on the hair, on the head, I should say, is to have even more drag on the hair so that we can kind of really read that flow. So you see right here, the hair is kind of caught up to the head. So if you can feel that hair, oops, let me go through there, on this. So if we can feel it snapping through, and then settling back, so you can really feel that whip around at the head. Now, it'll make a bigger difference too if you set that on 1s rather than on 2s. So we would have the hair more like, and then come back around like that. So you can have it really snap over. But that's what I got for you as far as some tips and some things that I would recommend. But love your test. And again, congratulations. You did a great job. All right. Best of luck to you.